there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jimmy Joe Logsdon.
And I'm Bunt.
Old Bunt Searcy over there.
Oh boy, here we go again.
We're back in the, we're coming to you 3 weeks in a row because of the 2023 Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular.
The 2023 Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular?
Yep, this is killing me, Jeff.
Oh, really? That was all part of the plan.
Every week I'm like, man, I'm watching these movies too close together.
That's part of what makes it spooktacular.
I could see why some other podcast hosts wind up hating each other.
Yeah, I see this guy way too often.
I know, you'd think we saw each other every day at work. It wasn't a problem then, but
Oh man, this spooktacular is destroying this podcast.
but we got as I was editing together that third Saturday October movie and taking my notes for this movie, my initial notes, the haunted hayride candle burned down, so we got to get a new candle. So now we're going with Spooky Spider Cider, which is another Yankee candle. I like it a lot. I think it's pretty good.
It's good. It's not too overpowering, just a nice mellow scent to have in the background.
Yep. Another good one. If you're all right, man, we're in candle talk, I guess, real fast. Another good one is the like the pumpkin pie from Michael's. Like it's just kind of a generic like $5 pie. It just smells really strongly of pumpkin, but it's not like of that pumpkin scent. But like it's not so many other ones like you kind of smell it and you're like, that doesn't smell good. Like this one's like a real solid kind of scent to it. I like that one a lot.
Might try that one then.
And like I said, it's only like $5, so that one's always worth it. I'm always sniffing candles. That sounds like a euphemism for something.
He's doing something over there, all right.
But yeah, let's get into it. If all this pumpkin talk, we'll deck the halls, but for Halloween for 1989's Pumpkinhead.
Keep away from Pumpkinhead, unless you're tired of living. His enemies are mostly dead. He's mean and unforgiving. Laugh at him and you're undone, but in some dreadful fashion. Vengeance he considers fun, and plans it with a passion. Time will not erase or blot a plot that he has brewing. When you think that he's forgot, he'll conjure your undoing. Bolted doors and windows barred, guard dogs prowling in your yard, won't protect you in your bed. Nothing will. From Pumpkinhead.
That's written by Ed Justin, who is I think got a writer credit and
inspired by
simply for the poem. Yep. This was released January 13th, 1989, although limited release October 14th of 88.
Just in time for Spookoween.
Which I think if you had like if you had asked me when this movie came out, I probably would have told you the 90s. Like
it does have that 90s feel to it.
But yeah, no, it's late 80s. So that was a kind of that was kind of a shock to me. Like when I was taking my notes, I was like, oh shit, I would have put this like 93 or something like that.
If you want the ultimate 90s Pumpkinhead, you'll have to watch Pumpkinhead Blood Wings.
Estimated budget of a 3.5 mil, box office of 4.4 mil. So made almost $1 million.
Which, I mean, respectable for something at that time.
Yeah.
Especially a horror movie.
One of the only two directed movies by Stan Winston. He also did The Story. Probably best known direction-wise for this, but he also did A Gnome Named Norm.
I mean, A Gnome Named Norm is a world-famous movie.
If you want some gnome named Norm background, the Flophouse, which was kind of a podcast that inspired this podcast in a way, they did a Gnome Named Norm episode, like I think earlier this year.
Oh, okay.
So like when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, a Gnome Named Norm. I've not seen it, but I've heard the Flophouse talk about it.
The ultimate crossover.
But for adolescent me, probably the thing I know Stan Winston most is for that Cinemax direct to TV movie Making a Monster. Like that I think they did like 4 different like direct to Cinemax like horror movies that year. And
Yeah.
I don't like, I think one was like maybe like I Was a Teenage Caveman or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think that was one.
But Making a Monster, where it was like video game, like comes into real life kind of thing. I remember that one a lot. I remember liking that one.
And I mean, you've definitely seen his name before on tons of movies.
All special effects whiz, guru, stunt guy. Maybe not stunts, but I think special effects and like
It's especially like practical effects for like creatures and well, I guess the Terminator's kind of a creature, but still like those kind of nice practical effects, even like some stop motion work, which I think he utilizes in this a little bit too, to make it appear like Pumpkinhead's moving smoother.
No, like Jurassic Park, Terminator. You said like pretty much all James Cameron movies.
Oh yeah, Aliens. He did. I think one of his most well-known special effects are the practical effects for the liquid metal Terminator and Terminator 2, which are still regarded as like groundbreaking to this day.
Small Soldiers, Galaxy Quest, some hit movies, or some kind of cult movies, I guess.
Lots of, I mean, pretty much anything you could think of that has like in the 80s or 90s where you're like, wow, that's really good special effects. Almost certainly he was involved with it.
And apparently designed the Tooth Fairy in Darkness Falls, which that thing still gives me nightmares. Like what, almost 2 decades later?
He's a great monster maker.
Like we said, Ed Justin wrote the poem that Jeff read that inspired the movie. We also got Mark Patrick, oh boy, Carducci, and Richard C. Weinman. I think those are the other writers. Screenplay by Mark Patrick Carducci and Gary Girani. That's kind of the behind the scenes kind of group. And not to go back to Mark Patrick there. I wasn't that I was having trouble with his last name. I was having trouble with my own handwriting. So if I have pronounced it wrong, it's because my handwriting is bad. Bishop himself, Lance Henriksen, plays our lead, Ed Harley.
Oh yeah.
Man, he does great in this. He's so good. Lance Henriksen needs more work.
I know. Honestly, it's like I don't know why he wasn't a bigger star. We won't see him again. Like I guess when we do another Pumpkinhead movie, if we do another Pumpkinhead movie, but I did see he's credited in a movie called Exorcism at 60,000 Feet, which sounds awful and I want to see it. Well, maybe we can work that in.
Sounds like that episode of Supernatural where the demon's crashing the planes. That's what it made me think of. Season 1 Supernatural, the best.
Classic.
A bunch of the unlast named teens. We got Kim, we got Joel, we got Chris, we got Steve, we got Maggie, and we got
Tracy. And then we have hillbilly teen Bunt Searcy.
Yeah. Bunt Wallace. But none of them I think did much. But we got Joel, John, Aquino. We will see again, we won't see again. But he was in AP Bio, which is a show that I really liked with Glenn Howerton and Patton Oswalt. And Carrie Remsen, who plays Maggie, was also in Ghoulies 2 and Nightmare on Elm Street 2. The gayest movie ever made, Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
I have it on good authority from a documentary I watched that is true.
Brian Bremer, who plays Bunt. We will see again in Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 Toymaker as Pino.
Oh boy, yay.
That was one of the most exciting things to me. Only topped by one of Jeff's favorite actors making a return, George Buck Flower, who we last saw as Ed Simpson in The American Scream, and the old man in Maniac Cop is in this as Mr. Wallace, and we might see him again if we ever do The Fog.
We'll do The Fog at some point.
For Fog Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw his name sitting there on the list, and I was like, why does this guy's name sound familiar? And I'm scrolling through his credits, and I was like, Jesus Christ, it's the dude from The American Scream.
It's the guy that's in everything. If you see his face, you're like, hey, it's that guy.
Matthew Hurley, Billy Harley, is also in a movie called I Know What You Did Last Winter. which I've never heard of, but it might be of interest to us. I don't know.
It is of interest to me.
And apparently it has nothing to do with the I Know What You Did Last Summer franchise other than just ripping off the name.
I mean, that's all great movies start with ripping off a title to get clicks on Netflix.
Robert Fredrickson, who plays Ethan, which Jeff and I were talking before we started recording. We have no idea who Ethan is.
Still baffled as to who this Ethan character is. Okay.
Was Tim in The Dorm That Dripped Blood. And then Mushroom, who plays Gypsy, is the dog, is also Barney the dog in Gremlins.
Ah, okay.
And then probably the most important actor, the most important person in the entire... Tom Woodruff Jr. is Pumpkinhead. But the most important person, the most amazingly named human being on Earth, Dick Warlock, who is an amazing stuntman who's in all sorts of great stuff. We'll see him again, certainly in Halloween 2, in a couple weeks, where he appears as Patrolman 3 and also as Michael in that movie. He plays Clayton Heller at the beginning of this movie. And I mean, if you've seen just about any movie, Dick Warlock's involved. And just, what a great name.
I know. Could you have asked for a better name?
Filmed in California, but I assume it's supposed to be taking place in, like, Appalachia.
I would assume so, since they say there's a holler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the things where I was like, clearly it's got to be taking place in Appalachia, right? Like,
I was honestly expecting Pumpkinhead to bump into Raylan Givens.
Spawning 3 sequels and a remake is in the works, supposedly. We'll see if anything comes from that. I was telling Jeff before we started recording, I would love to see like a Pumpkinhead fight a Pumpkinhead, and I would love to see like a Pumpkinhead in like a high-rise apartment complex kind of thing. I think those are kind of the two. I don't know if we get either of those in the sequels, but
I don't think so, but we might.
I would like to take Pumpkinhead out of the country and put him in the city.
I think we should put Pumpkinhead on a boat.
Oh, that would be great too. I mean, the best Friday the 13th movie takes place on a boat.
No.
Jeff's personal experience with this movie is probably better than mine.
My personal experience with this movie is one night my brother's like, let's watch Pumpkinhead. And so I paid $3.99 to rent it, and then he gave up on it about 20 minutes in and left. And so I sat and finished Pumpkinhead, and I was like, that's a pretty good movie. And then every couple of years after that, I've kind of went back and revisited it. And I don't know, it's just something about it. I think it's more the old Hill Witch Haggis that keeps drawing me back over and over again.
She's calling to you. My kind of only personal experience with this movie was, when you're like a kid and, your friends talk about horror movies. I've, whether, even if they had seen them or not, or, more often than not, it was like they'd glimpsed half of one, like while channel surfing, and then didn't want their parents to find out. So they saw like 5 minutes of A Nightmare on Elm Street, so then they show up and tell you about it while you guys are at school the next day.
Yeah.
Is like, this was one of the movies that like people talked about. So I had like in my mind, I hadn't seen it, but like I had a bunch of friends that talked about Pumpkinhead as though it were like the scariest movie ever made.
Okay.
And I knew like so little and never went and saw it, it had completely slipped out of my brain until you were like, let's watch Pumpkinhead.
See, for my childhood, that movie was House of a Thousand Corpses / The Devil's Rejects. That was what everybody's talking about at school, and they're like, oh my god, this movie's so insane and scary. And then I watched it and I was like, scary, huh?
I think the one for me that was the most was probably like Nightmare on Elm Street 3, which I mean, I can get why like kids, that was one of those movies. But yeah, for whatever reason, there were a lot of kids at school that were like, oh, Pumpkinhead's so scary, and I watched it, I was like, they can't be right. Like
well,
we were children. That's my
yeah.
only excuse.
Yeah, maybe if you're a kid, Pumpkinhead is super scary. I don't know.
But yeah, that's personal experience. You can stream this. I think you have to pay to stream this movie currently.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, honestly, if you're gonna pay to stream it, you might as well just buy a Blu-ray. You can get it for like $8.
Yeah, and I think Shout Factory, Scream Factory is the one that we watched it on.
They're actually re-releasing it on 4K in a Steelbook collector's edition. So if you like this movie, go ahead and buy that.
Yeah. But yeah, do you have anything else, or we ready to dive into our synopsis?
I think we should get started with this before Pumpkinhead finds me.
1957 shows up at the bottom of the screen. A young Ed Harley is being put to bed by in his family's cabin. His mom and dad are like speaking in hushed tones, acting very weird. Like
Lock
the dad,
the doors.
I think the dad's like sitting at the door with like a gun. So they know something's going on. We then see a guy who is Clayton Heller running from Pumpkinhead. There's a great scene where he like trips over a fence and like does like a front barrel roll and then stands up and keeps running. And I was like, oh, it's that classic Dick Warlock.
Well, when you got Pumpkinhead after you can accomplish superhuman acrobatics.
And so he kind of runs through a cornfield, gets startled by like a scarecrow, makes it to Ed Harley's family's cabin, and kind of pounds on the front door, asking to be let in, asking for help. And basically, like, Ed's dad, Tom, basically says, we're not getting involved in this. Yep, and you hear Clayton yell something about how he didn't kill that girl, but Ed's dad just keeps saying that he has to protect his family. He, this is none of our business. And then a young Ed's like, why won't Daddy help that man? And his mom's like, he can't, honey, he can't. And Ed then kind of like looks out the window and sees Clayton killed by Pumpkinhead, just kind of like in the distance, kind of wreathed in shadow, but you see him like being lifted up by Pumpkinhead's hand, and you don't get a full image of the monster just yet. But you get a hint. Yeah, and then we see the present as older Ed Harley, as his own son. As Lance Henriksen is burning some weeds with like a flamethrower. And they're doing chores around their house. It's Ed, his son Billy, and their dog Gypsy as they're getting ready for breakfast, It really cute family. Like this was one of those things where I said to you, Jeff, I was like, something bad's gonna happen to that little boy, isn't it? Like, that boy's dead. As good as dead. He's such a cute like little kid. Reminded me a lot of my son, which like was kind of like, I think it's like the big glasses and kind of just the personality. Yeah. But I was just like, oh boy, something bad's gonna happen to this kid. I just know it. Too innocent for his own good. And I want more of that movie. I want more of the movie of just Ed Harley and his son and their dog just like living their life. Like that was such a neat like kind of moment in the movie. And it, when it gets snatched away, you're like, oh man, like bring that back. I want that. I think that's part of the central driving theme of the movie is that's what Ed's goal is, even though it's going to go terribly wrong. Yep. We see some teens driving while Ed and Billy are getting the Harley and Son family grocery. Hey, baby, pass me my road beer. Yep. So we get all the teens. Then they pull up to the grocery store. Like Chris and Steve kind of go inside to go do stuff. And Joel's just like, for whatever reason, is like, this place sucks. Well, let's just ride our bikes, He's going to head up to the cabin by himself. I mean, basically, the reason he's doing this is because he's already drunk. Yep. But for whatever reason, he's like, I'm going to, but he says, he's like, I'm going to drive up to the cabin. Like, I'm going to go, fuck this. I'm going to go drive up to the cabin. And then instead, like, goes and does a bunch of stunts, like motorbike. He's drunk. He's trying to show off for the girls. And he's driving his dirt bike around this area, and obviously it's like, one, he wouldn't have probably even unhooked his dirt bike if he wasn't already sauced to the gills. But especially not with a dog and a kid running around. Yeah. But I just thought it was so weird that it's that like he literally says like, I'm going on ahead, and then just does a bunch of like dirt bike tricks instead. Yeah. Classic drunk guy. It's like you trying to get me out of that bathroom. Mayim Bialik and the rest of her family, Bunt, Jimmy Joe. Oh, yeah. They all show up. A young Mayim Bialik. Don't forget Mr. Wallace. Yep. And they, Mr. Wallace goes to buy some groceries from Lance Henriksen. And I think at one point Jimmy Joe like tries to steal Gypsy's ball. Mm-hmm. And then the kids are like, oh, don't do it. And this is where they start chanting the Pumpkinhead poem at him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was like, oh man, it's a young Mayim Bialik. She could show up in the sequel to my favorite series. She could show up in the prequel to my favorite series at this age, Young Sheldon. Yeah, well, I prefer to call it Sheldon than you call what, Big Bang Theory, Old Sheldon. Yeah, I call it Old Sheldon now. We call these shows by their real names. God, I hate those shows so much. Ed left something back at their house, so he goes to get it for Mr. Wallace. I think he's going to pick up the feed. Yeah, he left it at home. So because the Wallaces all leave, Ed then leaves to get the feed and tells Billy to stay at the store and take Gypsy inside. Gypsy is a bad dog and runs out the front door.
It's he sees that they're riding their dirt bikes around out there, so he wants to have the kid and the dog inside.
Yeah. But Gypsy runs out the front door, and then Billy, trying to be a good boy, gives chase, and tries to get Gypsy back inside because that's what his dad told him to do. And then these two motorbikes come over the hill.
Yeah.
Steve just barely misses him, and then in a very silly scene where the bike clearly doesn't touch him at all, like you just see him like jumping backwards.
Yeah.
Billy gets hit by Joel.
Yeah. It's kind of reminiscent of the Pet Cemetery movie where the kid gets hit by the semi and then he's just got like a little trickle of blood coming out of his head. It's like, yeah, that guy would be a road pizza, but whatever.
No, that one especially. This one where it's like, to me it's even implied that like more he grazed him with the handlebar, So like unless like he hit him just right, like I don't,
maybe like he hit him on the temple with his handlebar or something.
Right, but there's no head caved in or anything like that. I guess
you're just supposed to assume like he's fragile because he's a little boy.
Yeah.
So he got run over by a drunk on a dirt bike.
So Joel and Steve and like all the girls head up to or Joel and his girlfriend head up to the cabin.
Joel immediately starts panicking, tries to load up his bike and take off. Steve's like, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
We can't just leave this kid here." And he's like, "No, man, I gotta go."
Yep.
And they take
He's
off.
like, "I've been drinking. If they catch me, like blah blah blah." And so they take off. So then everyone else kind of gives chase to him while either Steve or Chris stays.
I think
with Billy.
Steve is the one who stays until his dad gets back.
Okay. And so then Ed arrives back and notices that that Billy and Gypsy aren't inside. So he goes out looking, sees him laying there, and basically Steve tries to explain to him what happened, and Ed just doesn't want to hear it. Picks up his son and just walks away.
Yeah.
And like turns back and just glares at him at one point when he tries to like help.
But his son is still alive at this point.
Yep. Barely breathing, but he is still alive. At the cabin, because they, some of the people head up to try and call for help. Joel just rips like the phone cord out of the wall, and he reveals that he's on probation because he hit another kid earlier.
Yes, he's already been drunk driving and hit somebody.
Real fucking piece of shit.
So basically, this is, if he gets caught again, he's going to prison.
Joel then like sucker punches Chris and locks him and Maggie in a fucking room.
It's like at this point you're like, well, honestly, the rest of these people, they don't really deserve it, but Joel totally deserves to get pumpkin-headed.
Yep. Meanwhile, back at the Ed's cabin, Billy dies in his arms. He starts to tell him like the same kind of story he was saying to him earlier. Like there was a dad with a really special kid, and then Ed, like Billy says like "Daddy," and then just like his body goes limp.
And Lance Henriksen does a really good job in this scene. You can just see like the grief written across his face.
Oh yeah, like his heart breaks in this scene. Ed asks, goes and takes the feed to the Wallaces, and asks the dad for help, Mr. Wallace, to find Haggis the witch.
Yes, he's talking to the dad and grandpa, and they clearly know what he's talking about, but they say, it's no way to get what you need or whatever. You just need to forget that and go bury your boy.
Yeah, so Ed's kind of starting to drive away, and Bunt runs out, and he's like, I can show you the way,
Fucking Bunt. This all could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Bunt hadn't opened his big mouth.
And so, like, Bunt shows him half the way, kind of tells him how to get there.
He's too scared to go all the way.
Yep. We get Ed then arriving at Haggis's cabin. It's what you would expect like a witch's cabin to look like. There's an owl, there's tarantulas, there's mice.
Got some lizards scattered around.
Yep.
I think one of the best movie witches I've ever seen.
Oh no, Haggis looks absolutely terrifying. She's so good.
She looks ancient, but at the same time like timeless almost. Like how long has she been sitting in this shack in the woods?
And she already knows Ed's name before he shows up.
Literally
which is
knows
great.
everything about him already, which, I mean, that's always great, creepy stuff in a movie.
No, he walks in carrying Billy's body. Haggis doesn't even look at him, and she just goes like, "You know I can't raise the dead, Ed Harley." Like,
It's not within my power.
and so, you know, and he tries to like say something to her, and she's like, "Tell me what you really want." And Ed basically says that he wants revenge for his kid.
And at this point, she even tries to warn him. It's like, it's possible, but there's a price. Terrible price.
And of course, he doesn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
And so
she's too consumed by grief.
She tells him to go to Razorback Hollow and to bring a shovel.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, "You'll know when you see it."
Yeah, you know when you see it. Mm-hmm. It's this big like mound with a bunch of pumpkins growing out of it.
It's like some kind of like old desecrated graveyard.
I think it's implied. I think at one point she says something about how like this graveyard is where like families buried like their essentially like their kids that died early and stuff like that, or like kids that were born with like birth defects or whatever that caused them to die early. This is where those families buried their kids.
So resting place for the unquiet dead.
Yep. So he digs up this weird body. He thinks it's dead, so he goes to pick it up, and then it starts breathing in his arms. Mm-hmm. And he just has this moment of sheer terror as he like drops the body and rolls back down the hill.
And at that point, it's already too late for him. He's already established the connection.
Yep. And so he goes and he takes the Pumpkinhead to Haggis's shack, and
takes the blood of father and son.
Yep. And she says something about, for each of man's evils, a special demon exists, and you want vengeance. And so like that's so that's how we know like what this demon is. Ed kind of passes out as like Pumpkinhead wakes up,
like born again.
Yep. And then like it kind of leaves, and then as Ed like comes to, Haggis basically tells him he can go, and that now it begins.
And ironically, as it begins with Haggis delivering yet another great creepy line, Joel actually is like, you know what? I am a piece of shit. Maybe I should turn myself in. Like, well, it's too late for that, Joel.
Yep. Ed drives kind of erratically back down to his house and starts having visions. Yep. He at one point pictures that like Billy's still alive, and I love when Ed starts to have his visions. Like the scene gets warped and all the colors change. I think
do
it's
like
really
the
cool.
effect of that, yeah.
Because this movie's a lot of like blues and like kind of dark colors, but whenever like Ed starts having his visions, like it turns like reds and yellows, which I thought was really neat. Mm-hmm. Back at the cabin, Joel is watching that front door with a shotgun, kind of threatening his other companions before he then decides to like, you know what, maybe I should turn myself in.
Maybe I am a piece of shit. But it's too late.
And like Maggie, one of the girls, is like really upset about what happened and everything like that. And so Steve gives chase to try and help her, and then he gets pulled up into the tree by Pumpkinhead.
At first, Maggie hears a voice, like very faintly off, whispering her name. And so apparently one of Pumpkinhead's powers is to like draw his victims to him. So that's why she goes outside. And yes, of course, Steve, being the good guy, tries to chase her down.
Yep. But then we can see him get pulled into a tree, and as that's happening, it cuts back to like Ed a couple times. He's like, like we said, the scene starts to change and stuff like that.
And this is the first hint you get that there's more to this price than he may have imagined.
This happens too. While this is happening, Ed is busy burying Billy next to his wife Lynn.
It's kind of ironic too that arguably Steve is like one of the best people out of this group, and he's the one that gets killed first.
Yep. Maggie runs back to the cabin because all she saw was Steve get pulled into the tree. He gets dropped and then like gets dragged away by Pumpkinhead again. So that she kind of runs back and tries to alert everyone. They step outside, and like Steve's body just flips over the side of the cabin.
Yeah.
As Ed's convulsions and like stuff continue to intensify. But yeah, when the monster like drops Steve back over the side, Maggie then gets pulled up over the top of the cabin again, kind of in the same manner, and gets her head carved into by Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, I love that effect.
Ed hurries back to Haggis's cabin and tries to convince her to stop it.
And then she just kind of laughs with like her great like mocking witch laugh. I mean, this lady does it great. And she's just like, it's too late now. Pumpkinhead doesn't die until the vengeance is complete. And another one of her great things is, Ed Harley, if you interfere, you'll die too.
Yeah, and he says something like, "If I die, I die," or whatever, something along those lines. And then she just kind of like laughs or like smiles at him and says, "Then you'll pay the final price all the sooner."
Yeah,
which is such like a neat line and
it's
foreshadowing.
Great line, and also telling you basically it's like you're done, you're fucked now. Yeah. You sold your soul.
Yeah, and and I think Ed even goes to her and he's like, "I didn't want it this way. Like this isn't what I wanted," But he was blinded by his vengeance, essentially.
She did warn you.
Yep. The cabin attacks continue. Maggie's body is thrown through a window. It's a great scene where like you just watch her like her friends kind of see her like appear in the window and they go up to talk to her, and like Pumpkinhead just like starts pushing her face against the window like more and more, and then just basically tosses her whole body through the window. I think it's such a neat scene.
And is this where Joel tries to fight it with a knife? Is that next?
I think so, yeah. I think everyone starts to like kind of get knives together to try and fight Pumpkinhead.
It's funny because it's almost like Pumpkinhead's like he knows Joel's the one who killed the kid, so he's saving him for last.
Yep.
Because he's like trying to fight him or whatever, and Pumpkinhead just kind of like casually bats him to the side and kills somebody else.
Yep. Kim gets taken away into a tree and then kind of dropped onto a rock in front of everyone else. I thought that was a neat scene.
Yeah, it was. This is where they start running through the woods, and they get to a house, and they're like, "Oh, please help us," echoing the first scene of the movie.
Yep.
And they're like, "Nope, you're marked. Can't help you now."
Yep. Ed arrives to help at one point, and like arrives at the cabin, but it's already too late, and kind of sees all the bodies already in the cabin. But the teens are kind of running around trying to get help, trying to find somebody. And there's like one random guy who maybe that's Ethan. I don't know.
It could be.
Basically tells him like, no, they're marked. He has no interest in helping them.
Yep. If we interfere, we die too.
Yep. And so he walks away. This is when Ed then shows up, fires like 3 good shots into Pumpkinhead, knocks it down. Joel then, being the wise ass he is, thinks like, oh, he's dead, and fires a 4th shot.
Yeah.
And then Pumpkinhead just like wakes up, grabs him by the leg, like pulls him down, picks up the gun that Joel has, and just stabs him through the gut with it.
I love a good getting stabbed with a gun scene.
They then go to the Wallace's cabin, continuing asking for help. And basically like once again, kind of a repeat of earlier. Like all the Wallaces are like, all the kids stay inside. No, we're not going to help you.
So you can hear the granddad like cock his shotgun. He's like, "Get off my property."
And then Bunt, basically is like, I've got to see it. Like that I think that's his big motivation is he wants to see Pumpkinhead.
I think it's a combination of that because he wants to know if it's real, and also I think he's feeling a little guilty since he set this all in motion.
And so he sneaks out the back window to go see it and to go help everybody. Leads the remaining survivors to an abandoned church. Like that's all kind of run down. Basically thinking it's a holy place. Pumpkinhead's a demon. He won't be able to step in there.
And this is where he explains to them that Pumpkinhead's the spirit of vengeance, and that if you try to stop him from getting to someone he's getting revenge on, then you become marked as another victim.
And and basically he's like, why would Pumpkinhead be after you? And he's like the Pumpkinhead only gets summoned when when someone gets murdered, when someone gets killed. And and they're kind of like, well, there was an accident back at the grocery store. That little boy got ran over, and he's like, and I think that's the moment where like for Bunt, he's like, oh shit, like.
Well, and they at that point they hadn't realized that he died. They just thought he was hurt. So then they realized, oh, he must have died.
Yeah, I think Bunt says something about like I think Bunt says something about that. Like he's like, well, clearly he's dead now. Or
the
something
Harley
like
boy.
That. Yeah. Turns out the church wasn't safe as we get this scene of like the wind picking up and Pumpkinhead appears in the entrance of the church.
Oh yeah, great finals. Like you finally get to see all of Pumpkinhead because he's always been like kind of obscured. Really great model.
And it walks through the church, and it walks up to like this old cross like at the front of the church, and then just picks it up off the wall and smashes it to pieces.
Yep, great.
Because
scene.
It turns out it wasn't a safe place. Pumpkinhead, they kind of head back to where the cars were, thinking, oh, maybe that'll be safe. Pumpkinhead's destroyed all the cars but like one motorcycle or one of the dirt bikes. And so Chris tries to get on it. Pumpkinhead kind of appears behind him, holding the chain to the bike in one hand, and then just picks it up like by the base of the motorcycle and throws it in the air.
Chris hits a tree.
And then like Chris starts to as Bunt and Tracy start to run away. Chris is kind of crawling on the ground, and Pumpkinhead like appears and just steps on his back.
And this, you get a good shot of it from Ed's perspective, because they're at Ed's house now. That's where they fled to.
Yeah, Ed arrives and takes them in his truck back to his place.
And Tracy watches Ed as the murder is happening outside, and she can see that his face is like morphing into Pumpkinhead. It's a pretty cool effect.
I think like his teeth get kind of long, and his eyes get really bloodshot and like cracked. It looks so cool. Like the contacts especially, I think, just look awesome. And Pumpkinhead arrives outside of Ed's cabin. Bunt is Tracy and Ed are inside the barn, but Bunt and Gypsy are inside Ed's house. Pumpkinhead goes in, kind of like sniffs around, looking around, and finds Bunt hiding in a closet, drags him out.
Yep.
Is getting ready, is basically getting ready to kill Bunt. Is getting ready to kill, like brought Chris with it, but didn't kill Chris yet. Like it's implied Chris is still alive. I think he's even calling for help. Tracy kind of runs out to try and stop it. Ed comes out with his flamethrower, and I think even lights Pumpkinhead on fire at one point, but it doesn't stop Pumpkinhead at all.
No, well, the first sign he sees they might have hope to stop him is when Ed's coming out of the barn and he accidentally snags his arm on a pitchfork.
Yep, and Pumpkinhead reacts in the same way.
It wounds Pumpkinhead's arm.
And so, as Pumpkinhead's getting ready to kill these last three kids, Ed runs into his truck, pulls out his revolver, and shoots himself in the head. And Pumpkinhead falls to the ground.
But unfortunately, he just grazed himself.
Yep. And so, like, Ed's kind of lying there dazed. Pumpkinhead gets and he's kind of reaching for his gun so he can do it again. And then we see like Pumpkinhead's hand move the exact same way and grab Bunt's leg. And like Pumpkinhead sits up and like is holding Bunt by the leg, like up in the air, getting ready to kill him too. And Tracy turns around, sees what Ed's reaching for, picks up the gun and shoots Ed in the head.
Shoot me.
Yeah. So she shoots Ed in the head. That then kills Pumpkinhead. It falls to the ground. And then we get like a really cool scene as like the three survivors are kind of picking themselves up, and then Pumpkinhead bursts into flames behind him.
I thought that was good, like signaling that Ed's officially dead.
Yep. And then we get like one last scene of Haggis like burying a new body in the pumpkin grave.
Late at night, she's carrying the new Pumpkinhead body into the pumpkin patch.
And she buries it in the ground, and we get kind of the camera zooms in on the Pumpkinhead's body, and we see it wearing the necklace that Billy gave Ed at the beginning of the movie that he said he would never take off because Ed is the new Pumpkinhead. And that's the movie.
I mean, what else can you say but stay away from Pumpkinhead?
Yeah. You don't want to get pumpkin-headed, Jeff.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start off with for our...
Let's do Halloween spirit.
All right. How Halloweeny is the movie? How Halloweeny are the kills? I put down like not overly Halloweeny, but the whole pumpkin aspect I think really helps.
Having the whole Pumpkinhead thing and the demonic pumpkin patch does add quite a bit. And while I wouldn't say overly Halloween themed, it does have like some cool like fall wood scenes, especially like the spooky graveyard with all the like leafless trees and all like the leaves blowing through the wind, like when he attacks the church and stuff like that. It gives it some Halloween vibe.
No, I think, like you and I were saying, I think if you had asked me back when I was a kid, what's Pumpkinhead about? I would have been like, oh, probably some kind of pumpkin monster attacking kids at Halloween time. Yeah. Based solely off the name. Like, it's not as much of that. It's still really cool, but like not overly Halloween-y. Honestly, I was a little unimpressed with the kills.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of like the what's happening to Ed, I think, is the more scary part than the actual kills.
No, there's a lot of dropping bodies out of trees and shit like that. Like, I did think the stabbing.
Yes, the gun stab is always my favorite kill. I also like the motorcycle toss that shows how strong Pumpkinhead is.
If you've seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there's a scene where like Mac like lifts Dee in the air by her crotch,
Yeah.
and it felt just like that scene where like literally Pumpkinhead just appears, grabs the bottom of the motorcycle, and lifts it as though it's nothing, just and tosses it in the air.
Yeah, I enjoyed the kills, but yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything that like stands out as amazing about him or anything.
The only other thing I kind of want to shout out kill wise is I loved the carving in the head. I thought that was kind of neat.
That's always fun.
Do you want to do Halloween costume next? Favorite costumes, set designs, things like that.
All the hillbilly people are dressed like just pretty much as you would expect them to be. I had a very Waltons vibe, if you've ever seen the Waltons.
Yes.
Especially from the grandpa.
What Kim's outfit at the beginning of the movie, she wears like a white tank top and then like kind of oversized brown pants. I would say cargo pants, but they probably weren't.
Honestly, I don't know.
With like a white belt and then like white boots, and I just thought it was such like a neat look. Like if you had asked me, based solely off that opening scene where you see those teens, like if you had asked me which one of these girls is like the final girl, is the heroine of the movie, I would have picked her. She looked awesome. Yeah. She looked so cool.
Joel looks like your typical douchebag.
Yeah, with his leather jacket. Steve wears kind of a neat jean jacket, I thought. And then I think Chris at one point is wearing like a sweater vest.
Yeah, I think he is. But I mean, honestly, if we're talking costumes, effects, and Pumpkinhead, Haggis's cabin, yes. The set decoration and the costume design for Haggis are like top notch.
Oh, she looks so old and brittle and grizzled and stuff like that. Like she looks like Jeff, you said one of the best movie witches. Absolutely, she looks monstrous.
Yes, she looks. I mean, it's like she looks like she's ancient and fragile, but at the same time, she looks like she's like incredibly strong too.
And then the Pumpkinhead grave. That's the one last thing I wanted to call out. Yes. I think that grave is so cool.
The demonic pumpkin patch grave. I mean, even the lead up to it too. Like when he first crests the hill and you see, because he knows it when he sees it.
Yep. And no, yeah, I think he gets told like you'll know it when you see it. And yeah, 100%. You know that grave. Yep. You know that grave when you see it.
You can tell there's something wrong with it from a mile away.
Oh, and we forgot to mention like earlier on, kind of back to that, kind of looping back, when the kids are like chanting the Pumpkinhead rhyme at Jimmy Joe. Ed is in the general store and he's having visions back to the night where he watched Pumpkinhead kill Clayton Heller. And I thought so like everyone knows the legend of Pumpkinhead. That's kind of what I took from that. I was like, oh, these kids are chanting this rhyme, and like so like Ed knows that the thing is called Pumpkinhead. He sees the like this demonic pumpkin patch, and like he kind of oh yeah, he knows it when he sees it.
Yep.
Like
it's almost like he was destined to call on Pumpkinhead.
Yep. Anything else in Halloween costume?
No. Well, I would like to mention the family farm where he goes to the Wallaces to get the advice about how to summon Pumpkinhead. I thought that was because it has like that broken down old fence and like the chicken coop that's got like half the roof missing. And it looked like a good rundown Appalachian farm.
No, it really did. And I don't think we said enough. Like the Pumpkinhead costume is really neat.
It's really great, especially like the sculpting on the face. I mean, at the same time, he looks like he might have been a human once because he's got the human eyes and nose, but then the rest of it's like totally demonic.
So like my kind of thoughts were like somewhere between like not like an alien from Alien, like a xenomorph, but also kind of like a gray. Like there's a couple scenes where it looks like a gray alien, kind of just from general pop culture.
He's very spindly. Like his arms and legs are very thin, but obviously very strong.
And then also those two things crossed with a human. Like those are kind of the three thoughts I had while seeing Pumpkinhead.
I liked that it wasn't just a total monster. You could still see the human in there.
Do you want to do Monster Mash favorite quotes?
Sure.
All right, let me pull mine up.
Yep. Here we go.
It's always tough when taking notes because the quotes come kind of thick and fast throughout the movie. Yeah. So like I have a separate thing for taking notes for the quotes than I do the rest of my stuff. very early in the movie when Clayton Heller is getting chased by by Pumpkinhead. Basically, he yells at Ed's dad. He's like, "What kind of Christian are you?" Which I thought was just kind of a neat line.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines from Haggis is when Ed Harley finds out what's actually happening. He's like, "God damn you! God damn you!" And she's like, "He already has, son. He already has."
I have that exact line. I thought that was such a good line.
It's just the way she delivers it too, like so casually.
When we're first, this is kind of my last quote, other than the poem. The poem, like as a whole, was a great one. But this is kind of my last quote. When we're first introduced to the teens, Steve is like, "Really, Tracy? Joel is a great guy once you get to know him." Then Joel driving in the other car recklessly, like swerving around them, like speeding on ahead, just turns to Kim and goes, "Honey, get me a beer."
Yep. Fetch me my road beer. But Tracy, when she's talking to Chris, and she's like, "When we get out of here, Joel's going to be carrying his balls home in a knapsack." Chris is like, "Just remind me to never piss you off."
Oh, we forgot to mention Tracy's played by someone named Cynthia Bain, so she would actually say, "When I get out of here, I'm going to put he's going to carry his balls in a knapsack, Batman." Because her last name's Bain. That's the joke. Oh. That's what I was doing.
Another good Haggis line. Ed's like, "Can't you stop it? Can't you call it off?" And she just kind of looks over at him. She's like, "Nothing can call it off now, Ed Harley." And he's like, "This isn't what I wanted." And she's like, "You're a fool, Ed Harley."
Haggis has so many good lines. I think we could take the entire everything Haggis says and put that for favorite quotes. She's so good.
I mean, even the very first line she speaks to him, where he's carrying his son in, and she doesn't even look up at him. She's like, "Raising the dead ain't within my power."
Yep. So good. I love Haggis. She's amazing.
And I mean, you gotta love Bunt. When he jumps out of the truck when they're halfway up there. He's like, "That old lady scares the piss out of me."
Oh, I didn't even catch that one. That's great. Bunt. What a guy.
But, I mean, so many great quotes in this movie.
But yeah, that's all I had. But yeah, like I said, for Haggis, I mean, every line Haggis has is great.
Every line, just we'll put that, every line of Haggis quote.
Pretty much, yeah. So Burnt Out Jack-O-Lantern, Brilliant Jack-O-Lantern, one thing you want to fix and one thing you want to praise?
One thing I would fix, I would say have this movie be a little bit longer and maybe have a little more time in Haggis's cool shack. Maybe have her... You don't necessarily need to have her like explain anything, because I think it goes better with like the minimal explanation. But just have her kind of like watching the events unfold, and maybe have her have like a flashback to like maybe when she was younger, if that's possible, and maybe like she saw Pumpkinhead murder somebody a long time ago. I wanted just a little bit of Pumpkinhead backstory, I think, is what I want, and a little more Haggis.
I was actually gonna say the same thing. Burnt Out Jack-O-Lantern. I want more Haggis stuff. Like, I want to know how Haggis became the witch, how old she is. Is Haggis the one that summoned the Pumpkinhead all those years ago, or did Haggis become a witch because like she saw it and was also interested in it and something like that? Like, I want more information about Haggis, and maybe we get that in one of the 3 sequels. Maybe. Who knows?
I mean, it wasn't in 2. I've seen that one.
But yeah, that's. Yeah, I kind of say, but yeah, same general thing. Like just more information about that stuff without necessarily like kind of spoiling that it's Ed's fault that basically that they're intrinsically linked now and all that stuff. Brilliant Jack-O-Lantern. One thing you want to praise?
I mean, there's so many things to praise in this movie, but just Haggis is what I want to praise. I mean, honestly, she's scarier than Pumpkinhead, I would say. And just the air of mystery around her, and like the level of like casual cruelty she displays to Ed Harley, because it's like she tries to warn him at the beginning, which I mean you can say that for her. She tries to inform him. It's like, this isn't really something that you want to do, but if you're determined to do it, I mean I can do it. And just the actress that played her was amazing. Like the line delivery, great writing for her. I mean, pretty much everything she says has like a sinister impact and tone to it. And just that last scene of her carrying Ed's like shriveled up now Pumpkinhead corpse and burying it in the pumpkin patch again. It's just what makes this movie. I think, like I said earlier, haggis is what keeps drawing me back to this movie because, like you said, the Pumpkinhead kills are fine, but they're nothing really to write home about. And while the Pumpkinhead effect is cool, I think the little bit you see of him isn't really enough to carry the movie by itself. So yeah, haggis for me, Brilliant Jack-o'-lantern.
My Brilliant Jack-o'-lantern, kind of like I said to you earlier on, the quiet stuff with like Ed and Billy at the beginning, kind of the happy, like I would love to have seen what Stan Winston would have done with like a happy family kind of movie, because like you know, something like a Runaway Home or whatever, or Homeward Bound or whatever it's called, like one of those. Like I would have liked to have seen what he would have done with something like that, because like it that opening scene is great. Like I love that stuff, or not opening scene, but that stuff with like the present day and Ed and Billy and Gypsy. Like I would love to see like a movie where like, I don't know, they just go out and live their lives.
Yeah.
And like, because like you can just tell he loves his son. You can tell like that Billy is the most important thing in the world to him. And like it's such like, and it just leads to that heartbreak when it happens. And I want more of that. Like I just want more of that in the movie. It was so well done.
Yeah, Lance Henriksen does a great job in this movie too.
Yeah, he really deserves. He deserved more work over his career. Like,
I mean, it's like he proved in this he could be like a leading actor, but he hardly ever gets cast, and it's weird.
Final rating, because it's the Spooktacular. We're rating these movies on one of three categories. Are they seasonally spooky? Are they, I forget one.
Candy corny.
I'm never going to remember that one.
Are they 6 feet under?
Yep. Do you want to start or should I?
You can start.
All right. For as much as we said about this movie and how much I liked it, to me, this falls somewhere between 6 feet under and seasonally spooky. Like, I can see why Stan Winston only ever directed 2 movies. Like, I can see why he's a special effects guy and not a like a famous director, because like the movie's a little slow, like it gets a little confusing at parts. Like there's even a couple moments where like I found myself a little bored, not overly bored, but like I'm just kind of like, get to the Pumpkinhead. Like I want to see the Pumpkinhead. Yeah. And sometimes like, Joel being like, oh, I'm going to drive on ahead. And then instead, does a bunch of tricks on his motorcycle, or like, basically is really combative with all of his friends. And then he's like, you know what, maybe I should turn myself in. Like, and just that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of like the motivations are weird. I think I would put it seasonally spooky. I think I would put it more towards like a scary movie and stuff like that. Cause like there's a lot to like in this movie, but like, it's kind of, with an asterisk, or kind of a, just kind of saying could possibly, maybe not the best movie. Like,
you got to choose Jay Logston.
Like I said, I think I would choose seasonally spooky, like, in all actuality, but like, it's kind of on the edge for me of like seasonally spooky 6 feet under, and and it wouldn't be a bad 6 feet under. It's kind of like, I think there were a couple others we've had earlier where I'm like, where like one of us said like it's bad, but like it's not the worst and there's redeeming qualities to it. And like this kind of, I feel the same way, but I think I would put it more towards seasonally spooky because like those effects are just so damn good, and Lance Henriksen is amazing. Haggis is amazing. Like there's enough for me to be like, no, this movie's good, but all kind of just barely good. Like just barely above the line where
rises above some of its drawbacks.
Yeah, but that's just for me personally. How about for you, buddy?
Gotta be seasonally spooky, and I got one word for you: haggis. No, the reason I think it's seasonally spooky is because it's such a relatable motivation. I mean, avenging the death of a child, which I'm sure is probably one of like the worst things anybody can experience, especially since he has already lost his wife at some point, which we never really find out much about. But it's like this is literally the only person he has left in the world, and then he's lost because an idiot decided to do drunk drive on his motorcycle out in front of his store.
Yep.
And I think that's part of what makes it so impactful is like you can definitely see yourself doing this, even though you would know it's like this is probably really not a good idea. But I want revenge for my son.
Oh, I think I said to my wife when I was watching it, I was like, if something happened to our kids, like No, like you always get this like, oh no, the killing has to stop, or like, you know, is it worth it? And I'm like, I don't know, man. If something happened to my kid, like, I can't tell you that, like, oh no, like I'd be okay with like them seeing their day in court, like.
Yeah, it's just, well, and that's the whole thing. It's like people always look at these movies and they're like, oh, well, I'd never be like dumb enough to do that or whatever. But it's like, yeah, but you really don't know that until you're in that situation.
Yep.
What you would do. And I think that's what makes it scary. Is it's like I could see somebody doing this, even though it would be a terrible mistake.
Yep. Oh no, absolutely. But yeah, it is fun. Like it's a fun movie. It's a good movie.
It's enjoyable.
It's just got a handful of drawbacks.
I like to rewatch it every once in a while, but I mean, honestly, looking back at a lot of the classic horror movies, a lot of them have some drawbacks you could list. So.
Oh no, absolutely. Where do we want to rank Pumpkinhead on our trick or treat list, our Halloween specific naughty list?
Well, I mean, Pumpkinhead is insanely strong and basically immortal unless you kill the person who summoned him. So I don't know.
And I guess if we are ranking solely based off of like, I think when we initially did it, we kind of put Michael as like, you know, as pretty much almost the apocalypse or whatever back when we first did our ratings.
Yeah.
But now, you know, because we're kind of doing this one at a time, Halloween 1 Michael, probably Pumpkinhead's more powerful than
well, definitely
1978.
Halloween 1, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, when you get to like druidic cult Michael Myers, I mean, they're probably more comparable at that point. They're both like immortal killers. But yeah, definitely Halloween 1 Michael would probably be defeated by Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, I think we've got like 3, you know, we've got 3 movies for Pumpkinhead to either get more or less powerful, and we've got, I don't know, around 15 more movies for Michael to get more or less powerful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like Michael Myers never stops. He's always back to kill again. I mean, Pumpkinhead's basically the same way. Pumpkinhead never really dies. He can always be resummoned.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless you figure out who summoned him, which you have to figure out why and kill that person, he's immortal.
Yep.
Until he fulfills his mission.
Yeah. So I'm okay for right now. You know, who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks, you know, for our last episode of Halloween 2, maybe we'll be like, you know what, Michael is more powerful than baseline Pumpkinhead.
We'll just have to see what Michael does, I guess.
Yeah.
I've never seen Michael Myers casually toss aside a motorcycle.
True. That's a good point. But yeah, we'll kind of put a bow on that and get our
put a spooky bow on that for the 2023 horror for the holidays Halloween Spooktacular.
And we'll get ready since we just finished our trick or treat list. We'll get ready to try some treats of our own in a segment we like to call.
Oh no.
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
All right, buddy. So I got a couple more to get through this week.
Oh, no.
We got Hostess Scary Cakes.
Oh, that probably won't be too bad.
The cupcake variety, although that does say October 5th on the Best Buy date, but I'm sure they'll be fine.
Oh boy, it's got Scream filling.
I didn't grab any milk, but I got it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown cereal. So I got a couple bowls. We can at least, you know, try it dry and see what we think.
Try it dry.
We've got Ghost Dots.
Oh boy.
Dot candy, but they're ghosts, and you don't know which flavor is which, and they got cute little ghosts on the packaging.
Okay.
And then, because we got so much food, we got 2 drinks to get through this week.
Oh no.
Hold on. Ill Repute stout with pumpkin spice, 4 Hands. It's got a jack-o'-lantern on the front. 4 Hands Brewing, I think, is out of St. Louis. Yes, it's out of St. Louis.
Pumpkinhead's personal beer.
Yeah. And then to kind of balance it out, I think you and I both went and saw spooky, classic kind of Hammer horror movies this weekend.
I did not.
You did not?
But I have seen almost every Hammer horror movie.
So one of our local theaters was doing a Hammer movie kind of weekend, and did Curse of Frankenstein, and then
Dracula.
Yep, Dracula, one of the Dracula Hammer movies. So to kind of celebrate that, I got Urban Chestnut Brewing Company Count Orlac Black Pumpkin Ale.
Oh boy.
Revolution Series number 666, also out of St. Louis. But it's got Count Orlac on the front, and I knew we had to get that.
Oh boy. 2 pumpkin spice beers. Huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, this Scream filling cupcake is pretty good, I guess.
it's
A little stale, but whatever.
only like 5 days out of date. I'm sure it's fine. It's Hostess. Like, if Twinkies can last forever, I'm sure cupcakes can too.
I'll put that on your tombstone.
All right, I'm gonna pop open the It's a Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown cereal. Oh my god. It looks like Kix. It's orange and green pumpkin Kix with a couple marshmallows mixed in.
Oh boy, let's see if we got any flavor in this.
It smells very vanilla-y. Here,
Why are we eating out of dog bowls, Jay?
these aren't dog bowls. These are family bowls. But yeah, orange and green, like Kix colored. We got it, and then little pumpkin shaped marshmallows. Smells very strong of vanilla-y.
Yes,
It's got a
strong vanilla flavor.
vanilla flavored cereal with marshmallows. It's got Charlie Brown, Linus, and Snoopy on the front.
It's very good.
And then a bunch of the ghosts, including the one with all the holes all over it, from the It's a Great Pumpkin special on the back. Mm-hmm. And Jeff seems to like it, so I'll pop this in my mouth.
It's good.
That's a dang good cereal.
All right, going in on the Count Orlock Black Pumpkin Ale.
All right. And I'm prepared for you to not like either of these. I'm also prepared for me to... Jeff does not like it. I'm also prepared for me to not like either of these.
Oof.
The best pumpkin beer I've actually had this year so far, Confluence, which is a local brewery, has a pumpkin spice beer called Basic Batch.
Oh, okay.
And I had that this weekend, and I really liked it.
Well, it's not the worst thing I've ever tasted, but I don't really taste much pumpkin or anything other than just the ale part. Yeah, I don't know about this one. It's no caramel apple beer like we had before.
So the Hostess Scream Cakes, they're the chocolate cupcake with orange kind of pumpkin colored topping. I mean, I just assume it's going to just be a cupcake. And if that's the case, it's nothing spectacular.
It is. Your typical Hostess cupcake.
Yep.
Not terrible, not that great.
Yep. Honestly, I'll probably put that at the bottom. Jeff's cracking open the dots.
Time to get some dots.
I'm going to open up one of this Ill Repute. Ill Repute. It's a pumpkin stout. It smells very much like a stout. I'm not getting much pumpkin spice initially.
The dots are dots.
All right. So just like the scary cakes, it's just a scary cake.
Yep.
Honestly, the Ill Repute pumpkin stout, not too bad. And
I'll be the judge of that.
Once again, I'm prepared for you to not like it at all. But
well, it doesn't smell as bad as the Count Orlock.
and it smells like a stout. It's got jack-o'-lanterns on the front, a haunted house, kind of like thing, a moon rising behind it. Oh.
Ugh. I think that's actually worse than the Count Orlock.
I'm going to crack open this Count Orlock. Nosferatu, Bird of Death, a.k.a. Count Orlock, was the German Count Dracula. He was a blood-sucking vampire. But being German, he must have enjoyed beer too, right? We believe it is so, and thus have created a black pumpkin wheat ale in his honor. A beer noir, if you will. That's what it says on the side of the can for Count Orlock.
Ugh. Well, I just tried the other one, so I'll do one more sip of this to compare.
Yeah, this one's very light on pumpkin, at least the pumpkin spice scent.
Neither one of these tastes like pumpkin or smells like pumpkin.
I get a little bit more of that pumpkin spice flavor on that Count Orlock than I did on the Ill Repute.
I don't like either one of these.
All right, I'm gonna open up my dots, and
I'm gonna eat more of this delicious cereal.
But yeah, cute little ghosts on the side. which flavor, which ghost. It's a mystery. And then the dots are like kind of glow in the dark, ghosty looking colors. They got a cute little ghost on the side.
Creepy little dots. Which, I mean, points to the packaging. It does look like spooky pack. But, I mean, they're dots.
Yep, it's a dot.
Cupcake's cupcake. The cereal, I would say, is pretty good.
I mean, you know, if we're kind of gonna rank these now, I mean, starting at the top, cereal's the best thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
The cereal is absolutely fantastic. I mean, for going out of their way, like the dots and the scream cakes, like to at least be kind of Halloween themed, although nothing really to write home about.
I don't know. That Scream filling is pretty good.
But I mean, I don't know. For me, I feel like I would put those at the bottom just because like they're not actually anything new or unique, and I think like last year we kind of did the same thing with some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much just, other than the spooky packaging with the Scream filling tagline, it's just a regular Hostess cupcake.
Yeah. So do we want to start at the bottom?
Yeah, we might as well.
All right. So I don't know. Probably for my bottom, I'd probably go with the dots. I mean, I'm not a huge dot fan. That's for me personally.
Yeah, I've never liked dots personally.
Next up, I'll probably go with the Hostess Scary Cakes. It's a cupcake. Like, it's a Hostess cupcake. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sure Jeff's probably gonna put one of the beers.
I'm putting the ill repute because it's ill. It is of ill repute, sir. I mean, points to them for the cool can, but I don't like it.
Both the cans are awesome. Yeah. For me, probably number 3. I'll probably put Count Orlok, even though I think it has a little bit more pumpkin flavor. Like I said, the best pumpkin ale I've had this year so far was the basic batch at Confluence. I've also had a couple others here around Des Moines. And I mean, the Count Orlok is nothing really. It is certainly not better than that, so I'd probably put it lower. I think my second would be the ill repute.
Okay. Yeah, I put Count Orlok above the ill repute just because it doesn't taste as bad to me.
I mean, if you're not a stout fan, you're not gonna like the stouts, and I mean, you're not a beer drinker much at all. So I completely get it.
And so I would go ill repute, Count Orlok, and then I guess the cupcake for me and cereal at the top.
Yeah,
like we already said.
The cereal is absolutely at the top. It smells so good. I'll probably have this for like a little snack later today.
I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting much from it.
No,
it's pretty good.
The vanilla like scent is really strong. The flavor is really good. There's not too many marshmallows, which is always a plus. Like sometimes you run the risk of putting too many marshmallows in your cereal.
Yeah. Lucky Charms. Oops, all marshmallows.
I mean, I've bought a couple of those.
I liked them.
But yeah, I really like it. I mean, I like Kix cereal, so I think that's pretty good. I mean, where do we want to this week versus the last couple weeks?
I would say probably the week where we did the what was that? The Barnyard Ale.
The Barntown.
Barntown. Yeah, I'd say that week's still my favorite week.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. The Barntown was so good, but those Takis were so bad.
Yeah, well, that is true.
That's the thing. I don't think anything we've had today is worse than those Takis.
Oh, no? Honestly, I would rather drink more of these beers than eat those Takis.
There's a way to arrange that, Jeff.
Oh, mentioning those Takis, by the way, we were at Sam's Club yesterday. They sell a 52 count pack of those Takis. And I was like, who in their right mind would try these and then say, I want 52 more bags?
A weirdo, that's who. I'm going to give them out at Halloween just to ruin some kids' Halloween.
I'd say that would be a very bad trick.
No, I'm not actually going to do that. But yeah, that's truly awful. Those were not good. I think I'd probably put this in the middle between those two. Like even though the Barntown was so good, like the Takis were so bad. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anything here is as bad as those.
No.
But I also don't think anything shines as much as like some of the stuff we had last week.
Yeah. I mean, the cereal is good, but yeah, the dots and the scary cakes are basically nothing. And I wasn't a fan of the beers, so
yeah. So yeah, we'll put it there for now. We'll have more garbage to eat next week.
We'll have to pick at our last episode of the Spooktacular. We'll have to pick our top 5 favorite overall items.
I think that's a good way to do it. It's going to be hard to remember everything we did. You and I were talking about doing, a master list. That's just not going to work. But hopefully for the last week we'll hope to have some hot, fresh, warm food delivered, so we can try some of the new offerings from Burger King.
Yes, Spooky Whopper.
Yep. But yeah, thanks for listening. You can get in touch with us on social media. Horror for holidays. Horror the number 4 holidays. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, the Q app, QUEUE.
All of your about to close social media networks.
Yeah. You can send us an email. Horror for the Holidays, the name of the podcast. horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com.
You can watch us on YouTube at youtube.com/horrorfortheholidays. Check out our cool spooky thumbnail in all of its glory.
Yep, with Santa going after our dogs.
Yep.
You can give us a thumbs up, subscribe on that YouTube, hit the bell notification, leave us a comment. Like
Yes.
we always appreciate hearing from people. And the same for your podcatcher of choice. Rate, review, subscribe, give us 5 stars. Especially if you hate the podcast, give us 5 stars and tell us why we suck. Like,
You should. I want to hear it.
yeah, we're not gonna read your review if it's 1 star and you don't tell us why we suck. We only want to hear your review if it's 5 stars and you're telling us why we suck.
Yep. Jeff and Jay quit eating on podcasts.
Yeah, we try. But other than that, I don't think. Oh, tell a friend. Tell a friend about the podcast.
Tell a friend about the 2023 Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular.
And you know what? As we're getting into the Halloween season, go to a local haunted house or go to a Spirit Halloween. Go do something kind of fun.
I know there's a good theme for Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, that the national anthem of Spirit Halloween, that Nick Lutsko song.
Yep.
So good. But yeah, I took my family to there's a local haunted house, Zombie Hollow, over in Winterset. Very family friendly. That was a blast. But yeah, go to a haunted house. Go do something fun for Halloween. As we're wrapping up and getting towards the end of the month. Like, that stuff's gonna disappear.
Head to Phantom Fall Fest at Adventureland.
Yeah, go do something neat. Wherever you are, go do something fun. You got our permission. Like,
You officially have our approval.
yeah, and hell, if you do it, send us an email or get in contact with us on social media. Let us know what you got up to. Like,
Tell us how you've been spooking this season.
yeah, that's our challenge for the week. Go do something fun. Go do something fun that's Halloweeny this week. I think that's a good challenge just to lay out to people and let us know how it went. Other than that, we'll see you again next week as the Horror for the Halloween, the 2023 Horror for the Halloweens.
Horror for the
Oh
Halloween.
my God.
Are you trying to say the 2023 Horror for the Holidays Halloween Spooktacular, Jay?
I am. I'm trying to say whatever that is.
Okay.
As that rolls on, we will bring you another episode for a week in October as we, I don't know, we'll figure it out today what we're going to watch, and we'll see you again in a week and let you know what it is. Thanks for listening.
I've been your host, Bunt Searcy.
And I'm Jimmy Joe Logsden. We'll see you again. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See you later, partner.